Hey guys, Infidel1258 here. Today I want to answer a question from my community. If you have questions for me, you can drop them on any one of my videos. Leave your question and your IGN, and if I answer those, I will send a thank you if you got that IGN included. In this one, it's a response to a recent video where I was addressing how to win really effectively with the weak magic rule set. And I had a specific example in that video of what went well for me and what you can expect and how you can counter that expected play by your enemy. And I think this is a really effective video and a true video of how you can win with that weak magic rule set. So then Florian M came out and said, great video. I especially liked that you explained the standard play a lot of players do with weak magic and the counter to it. Could you please do something similar with the blast rule set? I seem to always lose when I get it. So for sure, Florian, please leave your IGN next time. But thank you for the question, and I will definitely try to do my best right now to answer that question. So looking at the blast rule set and trying to think through what we can expect from our opponent and how we can beat it. What I would argue for that question is that the blast rule set is most effective when you can play a very powerful magic team. Why? Archery and melee are great when you have blast, but the problem with them is that they are going to hit armor. And so magic has the opportunity to cut right to the core and go straight to the heart and kill sooner because it's not going to be hitting armor for the most part. Yes, there's void armor. Yes, there's weak magic rule set that can also coincide with blast. So that can change the whole dynamic. But generally speaking, when I see blast, I see a great opportunity to drop magic. I also see a great opportunity to do life leech because life leech is going to span out, creating more damage and more healing for your own monster. So those are two attack or offensive considerations that I bring to the conversation when I think blast. Magic, life leech, and speed. You always want to go first in this context. Speed is always important, right? But especially when blast, because blast is going to kill everybody so much faster. And so it's really important that you be first to the shot so that you can take down your enemy before they take you down. So those are three offensive considerations that I bring to the conversation when I look at blast. And I have one game I'm going to show you in a moment here that shows me doing those things. And then there's some counters that I want to discuss, and my opponent does them well but not great, and we'll show what he did well, and we'll break down how his defense fell short. So let's look at that battle. This is it. So here I am on the bottom, and I've rented the Archmage, and he's of course an amazing offensive summoner that's giving me the +1 on every type of attack form. And then as I said earlier, life leech is very powerful in the blast context. Before I get into breaking it all down, I want to point out that this game not only includes the blast rule set, the explosive weaponry rule set, but it also has the equalizer. And this does create kind of a unique, it complicates the conversation. So I'm not trying to focus on equalizer. I'm going to try and focus in on how explosive weaponry rule set works and how I speak into that. But you can't help but notice that this is going to change things too. So think that through because this has its own considerations. But like I said, speed is, what were the three things I talked about? I talked about life leech being really valuable. I talked about magic being really valuable. I talked, and my summoner is adding to my magic damage. And then I talked about speed, and I've got speed, and speed. So those are the three things I tried to do from an offensive standpoint to win this blast rule set. And these are what I always do. There is one other defensive consideration that you'll see on the battlefield here, and I think is really important. My opponent tried, and ultimately it's not going to work, but you can think through and use to your advantage in certain contexts. So what is that? It's the taunt. Not just taunt, but it's understanding what I said about how blast works well with magic, and then recognizing that your taunter can have void and magic reflect. And that can be a really excellent counter to what might be a real strong magic attack from me because of the blast. So he anticipated wisely and rightly that I was going to be trying to do a magic play, but because Archmage is so rare, he wouldn't have expected me probably to drop the summoner, and therefore maybe wasn't expecting so much archery damage. But as you can see, he did even bring 1 headwinds and 2 headwinds because of the summoner. So maybe he even anticipated that. Here's the only, and not only does he got the Dark Huan with the taunt, controlling where I'm attacking, using Void and Magic Reflect against me, using a huge hit point shield, which is the Dark Huan, right? Even outside of this rule set, this card has a huge hit point pool and is therefore really helpful at what he's trying to do here. Then putting right beside it the Prismatic Energy, again with Void, again with Magic Reflect, can be so devastating because he's directing all my magic attacks. He knows I'm going to try magic because of the rule set. And then he's controlling where I'm going. He's minimizing the damage I'm doing, and he's sending damage back at me. So taunt is so important, but then you want 2 meat shields beside. You want a meat shield beside your taunter because you don't want like a little weak guy here to die once this guy gets blasted for the first time, right? So you could try a big meat shield like this with the Prismatic Energy, which has a second Magic Reflect. That's a great play because you expect my magic, so send it back at me. But then criticisms or critique over what he's tried here. He didn't bring any triage. I don't see what this vampire is adding to the table. Yes, it's a great monster in the context of Equalizer because it starts off with 13 hit points and it could theoretically go up to 20 or 30 because of how much damage it's doing and because of the blast and because of Life Leech. Like I said, Life Leech is so powerful in this rule set. I agree that is an effective choice generally, but in this context with what he's trying and how he was anticipating a counterplay against me, he should have really leaned on his strength, which was a counterplay. This is a counterplay of what I'm trying. So then add to your counterplay, support your taunt, support your counterplay with a triage, and you could have brought over, Spirit Hoarder or Theorosa. And this is quite expensive, but this is quite exportable, man. I mean, it would be really easy to bring this out there and get that triage. But not only that, blind, that would have been really helpful. And really helped support you to stand you up even longer. I think this would have been a huge pick for him to have brought to the table. This less so, and this is such an expensive card. So I would say Spirit Hoarder would have been huge. Or better yet, here's the other thing. You could have just put the Dark Huan in the first position. And then gone Dark Huan, Prismatic Energy, and then definitely I like this Phantom Soldier, but I would have put it here in the 3rd or even the 6th spot. I might have kept this card because he probably saw that maybe he saw that I used the Archmage more than once, and so he wanted to bring headwinds. Plus this card has stun and it has snare. This is a great card. So I actually like this pick, but I think I would have done without the vampire. I would have probably done without the Lord of Darkness, and as you'll see, it's not gonna help him because one-on-one with the speed modifiers I'm bringing, he's not gonna touch me. But just picture the Dark Huan over here, and picture a tank healer and another tank healer because you get rid of the Lord of Darkness. Suddenly, the Dark Huan is taunting me, attracting all my attention. It's got the Void and the Magic Reflect, so it's gonna minimize most of the incoming damage. Then when it does take damage, you got a double healer on it, and you're afflicting me. I would say that probably is a win for him. Or putting a triage there and a different sort of tank over here. That might have been interesting too. Yeah, but let's watch it play. So 3 major offensive plays: magic, Life Leech, and speed. 2 main defensive considerations: taunt and then actually leaning into Void because of the expectation that during this Explosive Weaponry rule set, magic is going to be a common attack type. So using Void, and then silence. We didn't talk about silence exactly, but he brought the Phantom Soldier, and that is why I did say I like that he picked this one. It's because it has silence. I would have brought either a triage monster here or a silence monster here, I would have gotten rid of this one and probably brought another silence monster or another triage monster, because remember the equalizer rule set would have made that any sort of triage monster had 13 hit points too. Now, one last consideration, like I said, slip the Dark Wand into the first position, using that taunt in the same way, but then bringing tank heals to support it. And then I think he maybe wins it. But as you can see, my speed is just too insane compared to his, and it's going to mean that he just can't get it done. And my life leech is more effective than his, and his taunt just wasn't supported. So understanding that magic is deeply powerful in this rule set, and then using that either to your advantage by formulating a magic attack team, or using it to your defensive understanding by using taunt and void armor effectively. But then definitely, if you're using that taunt, supporting your taunt with either triage or tank heals and silences. So I think that's why I won that, because I used magic well, and because his defense wasn't supported properly. But that's that's my understanding of Blast and how I respond to it, how I attack it, and how I defend against it. And I do think that Blast rule set is kind of uniquely difficult, because that Blast can just delete your entire team so fast, especially if equalizer rule set's not in play, right? You might have support monsters that have 1 or 2 hit points, and that's why that magic can just cut to the core and kill those support monsters and just end your opponent. And so magic is definitely key, and speed is deeply important, but then taunt can counter those things by controlling where my attacks are landing. So I hope that helps. Thank you so much for the comment and the question. And I just ask you to, next time, Florian, drop that IGN. Appreciate you guys. Thanks so much for your time and attention. Have an amazing day. God bless.